So it worked.
I just went back to the original link and clicked it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, we can record this one and put it on too, but we basically went for the functionality of it. So it's more of an admin discussion now on how we want to roll it out to the league to see if this is an avenue that they want to go down. And I guess for us to decide is whether or not we are going to lose anyone if we switch, which is kind of key. I mean, if a couple people are really adamant that they don't want to, are we willing to have a couple people walk away from the league in order to switch it over?
That would suck. Right? I mean, you have a pretty good group right now, I would say.
Yeah. I guess the point I was making there before I got cut off was the original plan. I don't know if you remember that far back or not, Brent, was to have 16 teams make the playoffs and 4 not. Of the 4 that didn't, they would be the lottery teams, and the 16 that did. I mean, realistically, you have 2 divisions of 8 teams going at it. So 1 seed's going to get the 8 seed, and there's always going to be surprises. But ultimately, I mean, realistically, you're getting an easier matchup anyways going in. But it would give more people that drive. And I think you would see a lot more cases where all 20 teams are competing to make the playoffs because there's only 4 that don't. So there'd be none of, shutting her down halfway through the season because you don't see yourself making the top 8 out of 20.
Right. Yeah. No, that's Bryce. You're here.
Yeah, I'm back. It took me a minute to get back in here.
I'm just curious, just for when we will have admin questions for sure. But I'm just wondering, is there a limit to the number? Like, can you set it to say everybody makes the playoffs and, so we can.
I'm going to show you right now what we do, and then I'll go back into that screen and show you what you can do.
Yeah.
So if I go to playoffs, this gives me my playoff tree.
Right.
So I have seed 1, seed 2 with buys. And then obviously as it goes in through there, because we have an 8-team league, so we do 6 make, and then the bottom 2 does a best of 3 consolation for the first overall pick.
Which would be fun.
So if you wanted to, if you did that 16-4 like you just said there, Josh, you could do the bottom 4 could actually play those final weeks when everyone else is also playing. And you could say that's one of the funnest, like that's one of the most fun things I enjoy about that is like,
especially if you're playing for Bedard, right? Like the winner of that mini tournament gets Bedard.
Exactly. So last year was actually funny. I was playing at the same time as I was playing for the final. I had a colleague's pick that was playing for Bedard.
Oh.
So I won the championship at the same time as winning Bedard. I managed to win both of them. But that's
I wonder how somebody would compete in those final 4 spots if they no longer own their first. Like, was the guy trying to win you Bedard?
Yeah, that's the only thing is like he was he was and he wasn't. So like, and another thing that we kind of said, and I don't know if it'd be super possible in this, but like we started doing like a little bit same thing they do in the actual NHL. We started doing some more conditions. So like I told him, and we didn't do it for this obviously, but that was something we said in the future. Like as if this pick happens to be at the bottom 2, if you win, we'll give you an extra third or something like that. And you could always do like that was kind of because the same thing happened in the NHL, right? Like except they put conditions on so they didn't get the first picks. But that was kind of my thought process. Because that happened last year, and I was like, well, he's like, well, I could probably just be an asshole. And I was like, well, kind of ruins the fact of, because I made that trade for that pick like 2 years prior.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and that's something we can discuss. I'm sure there's ways around it to
So actually I will go to so if I go sorry, that's customized theme.
You can also in Fantrax setup, you can play like 3 games a week, right? Which like I don't think.
What do you mean?
Well, you can play 3 different opponents in a week, which
maybe you can.
I think you can, which for a weekly setup, maybe for any setup would be maybe a little iffy, because if I'm playing Chris and Josh, for instance, Chris's team might have a lot of heavy hitters on it and Josh's doesn't. So do I customize my lineup for the week? I know anyway, that's just something I found interesting about it was I'm pretty sure you can play more than one game in a week, but anyway, that's totally off.
So I just went to sorry not to cut you back off again. So I just went to my last year. So in Fantrax you can see the entire league archives. You can go in. So this is all last year's stuff. So I can see the playoffs from last year with the scores of each round. Because
Oh, we're missing Ryan still too.
Okay.
We're missing Ryan. We'll have to send him a message. I just messaged. Well, Chris just messaged me, so he should be joining in a sec.
Yeah, to get back in, I went back onto the form and clicked the link again.
Yeah, I'll message Ryan and tell him.
Okay, you're messaging him. I won't. Okay.
Yeah.
There he
also,
Chris.
Are we back in here?
Chris is joining.
Here,
I should have made that clear before, I guess, but.
So I'll show this really quickly, and then I'll go back into those commissioner stuff.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Good. Yeah, no, I noticed it was the admin thread on so I don't know for Ryan if we might have to
I sent him a message, right?
Okay.
Like in through the forum, I think is how we got here in the first place. So, and I think Josh just sent him one. So. Okay. All right, so this is, yeah, I really like. I can't believe there's stuff to play for like the first pick overall or something. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, here. So I'll just go back and show that. So we can have the playoffs, and then we had the first pick playoffs, which is just best of 3.
You didn't hear that, did you, Chris?
What's that?
You weren't here for when we were just talking about how the 4 teams out of the playoffs can play to see who gets the first pick overall instead of
No.
It can be set up. Price can explain it again better, I guess, but
Yep. So am I good to keep going? Or do you want me to
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm recording this one too, so hopefully.
Okay. So this was our last year's one. So we can see here where we have 6 of our 8 teams make the playoffs. The top 2 teams get a bye, the second round, and then obviously it's 4 and down 2. And then we have the first pick playoffs, which is a best of 3 while everyone else is playing between the bottom 2 teams to determine who gets to pick first, or get the first round pick, I should say. So it kind of adds a little bit, so the bottom teams actually kind of aren't just sitting there the last couple weeks doing nothing. Just it's something to do, and I honestly I wish the NHL would do something like this. But
So just to be clear, though, since it's technically the worst team has first overall pick, you have to win this matchup, right?
Yep. So we
Okay.
do it the way we did it is so Nick's Pricks were the worst team. Or actually, I think it was Benny's Enforcers. So say he was the worst team, but Nick's Pricks won the first overall pick. So it's just the first round pick that we basically moved. Like all the other picks were the same. So he'd still pick first in the rounds 2 through 10.
Yeah, and that's how we currently do it as well.
Okay. So it's just the first round that he got the first pick, which funny enough I had that pick, so I got it. But yeah, and then I'll quickly go back into the commissioner stuff as well. But the other thing I enjoy is the league archive, where I can very clearly go back into any of the prior leagues since we started it back in 2019. I can see where I finished. I can see all that stuff. But yeah.
And that's the downside. We'll kind of lose the history if we switch from Yahoo over to Fantrax, but eventually I think it's probably going to happen.
We can keep the forum alive though, right? Like we can at least that part of the history, or
keep pro boards alive for sure, but you'd
Yeah.
have to renew on Yahoo every year in order to update, and it cycles through and runs. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we could always copy and paste the pages and paste it on the pro boards page to have it.
So in Yahoo, how much history does how much how do I want to ask that? Like, how much of the history can you see? Like, how much can you see from the first season?
In pro boards or in Yahoo?
Yahoo.
So if you go on the desktop version, you can see the final standings. I don't know if you can break it down to the matchups, the week by week matchups, but you can go back and definitely see the final standings, who won the champion, what place everybody finished in.
Okay. So this is basically the same thing, except you can just kind of go back into it. Like you can go back into it like you're still in that season almost. You just can't make any moves.
Yeah.
So I like that too for the most part. I used to use Yahoo honestly, but when me and my brother decided we were going to make a team or a league, and we did a lot of research, and we kind of ended up here.
Yeah.
And I don't mind the choice so far. I'll go back into the commissioner stuff though right now.
No, and I will say I've run a lot of leagues in Fantrax, but the leagues that I've run are fake leagues. Like I'll set up are like SCDHL in Fantrax, just so I can use the information that Fantrax provides, so I can run spreadsheets and kind of see where I'm at. If that makes sense, if you guys know what I mean. But
that makes a lot of sense, yeah.
Yeah, so I have done a lot of work in Fantrax, and I will say it is very user friendly. Like it's not a hard system to get around.
No, I find it so much simpler. It's more informative and also simpler. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I mean, looking at some of this stuff, I've never even dove into. I don't know probably half of what Fantrax can do, right? Like Bryce running a league, that certainly helps figure it out in the long run. But for my leagues that I'm in, I'm not a commissioner or admin or anything, so I just kind of go in and do my owner stuff, and that's it. But
so for the commissioner stuff here, so you can break everything down by teams, by divisions. We don't have any divisions, but obviously we do there. So what are we doing here? So like you could very easily add people to divisions, which isn't very difficult. The playoffs are here. You can set when it starts. You can merge playoff periods. You can set the people that qualify, blah, 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 blah. You can reseed after each round too if you want. Something fun.
I actually must say, like, and this isn't at all to knock. I'm just more comparing. A lot of the things you have shown, Yahoo does also provide.
So Yahoo does do a lot of this. I haven't run a league in Yahoo in probably 8 years, so I honestly can't.
Yeah, like the repeating stuff, that's all possible in Yahoo. The big thing, I think, the difference between Yahoo and Fantrax is it really eliminates a lot of the admin work. It's the dollar value, the salary for the salary cap, the minor league, the bench. And I don't know how, if the current owners in the SCDHL will look at that as enough of a positive, because a lot of it's admin work that gets replaced. The upside for the actual GMs is they don't have to go on pro boards and post every move and every buyout. And I think a lot of people shy away from even making buyouts or signing players because
I can say I do.
Right, because the work is pretty substantial to have to go into pro boards and post it in 3 different spots. So the benefit there is it makes life easy for everyone. It makes life really easy for admin because it's really just a setup at the start of the year. And then admin doesn't have to go through and audit everybody 3 or 4 times a year to make sure that, their salaries are right. And nobody has to go through and actually check games played and age in order to determine whether that can be owned or not.
If we're going to continue using pro boards, so won't we have to still post it on pro boards anyways?
You shouldn't have to, and we could minimize pro boards substantially. We could take a lot of the prospect threads, the draft pick threads, the draft thread, because you can run the draft rate on Fantrax. I assume that you can still do that, Bryce?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now there might be some stuff that we prefer
So
to do on pro boards.
I would say the salary retention and the buyouts you probably have to keep on there, because the the best way I can describe it is there's no buyout screen. Like, you can't, to my knowledge, you can't just like buy someone out, or you can't like remove someone from your roster and it automatically does that. That's something I've had to do manually.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it will reflect on Fantrax. It's not something that it's not something you did manually and you'd have to like keep track in the form, but also it will update, and I'll show you what I mean here in a second. But that's the only thing you'd have to probably still keep. And honestly, it might even be a thing. We don't use buyouts because we don't really drop a whole lot of people, or add a whole lot of people. So
I thought it could, but I'm just looking it up now too.
But I can also look into it here too, because if I go to roster, actually transactions, whoops. Claims drops. Excuse me. There might even be in salaries. Yeah, I can't see anywhere in here that you can, but
I just found one. Now this is a league rule summary from a Fantrax league. It doesn't actually show me the screen, but it just says you can set the buyout amount as a function of the player age at the time of the buyout. So if they're under 26, 1/3 of the remaining contract value. If the player's under 26 at the time of the buyout, 2/3 of the remaining contract value if the player is 26 or older at the time of the buyout. So it looks like there is a function where you can set a buyout amount, but I don't know if you can play around with that, if you can switch it to like 50% or.
I'll try to do a little bit of looking and seeing it at some point.
Yeah, I can
find out.
dig as well and see.
The retain thing, I can't imagine there's anything to deal with the retain stuff. So,
but I will show you guys how I do that in a second here. I just thought I'd run through some of the other stuff in here first.
I mean, if we have to keep a spreadsheet, that's all it is. We already have that.
Yeah.
So.
And the good thing about this too is like you can keep a spreadsheet, but like everything. So you can set here. I'm just gonna go do this now, actually, because we're talking
on your roster page, right? Like,
so I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna do this so you guys can see here. So league archive, because I believe it was. I want to say it was last year. No, we got rid of it last year. Actually, it's gonna have been this year. Because the other thing I did was because I ended up trading the guy that was retaining salary. I held the guy. It was Tervo Teravainen is who it was. So he was 5.4. He retained 2.4, and we just did until the end. We didn't do a set limit. We just did basically NHL contracts go. So it was until the end of his contract. Let me just go to my roster here. So, and the only way for him to get rid of that was I ended up trading him back to him. So do I have Teravainen? Yes. So I have Teravainen here, and he's making $3 million. So his normal salary is 5.4. So if I go to the team that I had traded him from, which would be this team near next team, and I go to the bottom, there's Tervo Teravainen. There is the amount of salary that is affecting his cap right now, the 2.4 that he retained. I put in the description that it was a retained salary transaction. And you could set which season you want it to end on. So you could have it go until 2025, and then if you renew the league, it carries over, I believe.
Okay, so we have to put the cap hit penalty, but we also have to go on to the player and, take out 2.4 million off his 5.4. So now his salary is 3 million. So
yes, and that affects it. But that would be just, and that's like obviously if I wasn't the admin, I couldn't do it. But that's an admin job.
Bryce, I have a question for you.
Certainly.
Yeah, the underneath there where it has Caulfield, Matt Duchene, Ehlers. That's kind of how like the Yahoo page is set up as far as like on a nightly basis if you want to check, and it has it more categorized like that. That's my personal preference. Is it do you know if it's an option in Fantrax to put it this way, to check your stats every night?
To check your stats every night?
Yeah, so it's
That
kind of set up like this page right now.
Yep. No, I think I know what you mean. I'm not positive.
I think they have a live tracker, don't they?
Let me check here. So if I go to the scoring here, actually, this is probably going to screw me up because I'm in like 2 years ago. But
Yeah.
so you're saying more like the actual roster page back there is how you'd want to like keep track, like the live tracker or like the actual...
Over the page you're showing me now. That's just my personal preference, just to know if
You
it's an
can-
option.
Yeah, you can
Let me look.
change. Yes, there's those two up there.
Right there.
Okay, awesome. That's what I wanted to know.
Classic. Right there. Yeah.
Perfect.
You could do that, or if this. I honestly never use it, so I wasn't even paying attention.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is an option. What was I doing? Oh, yes, I know what I was going to do. I was going to go back to the current league here, and I'll show you how I'll show you how I was using those or doing those transactions. So right here, the salary contract admin screen. So you could have it set for any admin to be able to use this. You can come in here. That is not the screen I want. I'm sorry, I haven't used this in a while. I don't do retained salary very often. Which screen was it again? Hold on. Maybe it's team. Bear with me for just 2 seconds. Which screen was it? It might be in here. Oh yeah, it's definitely in here. Salary cap hit administration, I believe. Yes, here we go. This is what I want.
Huh.
So can everyone see this here?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So I will select my team, for example. And I'll do the player can be who. Can I not select the player? Oh, I have to type it in up here. Oops, my bad. Oh, so I can see I have Miller in here because last year I did a trade where I acquired JT Miller just for the rest of the season at like half. So if I did, you could literally do any player, but I'll just do, say, I'll just do Miller again, honestly. So I'll type in Miller. It'll autofill the rest. So say I want to do JT Miller. I don't know why. Starts, you can set what period you actually want to start in. So say you want to start like the beginning of next week, what have you, and you set the end season, which is nice. So say I want to do 2025. You just put the amount in. So say I want to retain $1 million.
Can you do percentage there? Or is it just dollar value?
It's just dollar value. That's the only downfall.
Okay.
But then I could say this is going to be a retained salary.
Can you type in retained salary with like I'm thinking with the team name of the other team it's affected, or?
Oh yeah, you certainly could. You could say retained salary
with the Express or whatever, right? Any?
Yeah, I'll just type Express in there.
Yeah. Yep.
Boom. Delete that one.
Yeah.
And
good.
I'll hit save changes. And now if I go back up in here into team, if I go down to my team right here, there it is.
Mm.
And this would apply to anyone. So say I wanted to buy out, what's a good example? Eichel Easy. Say I wanted to buy out Eichel for spread it over 2 seasons. What would that be? 2.5 for each season? How does that work? Oh no, I guess it's whatever is left on his contract. I guess is not a good example, but you could do the same thing in theory, right? Like you could just do whatever the salary is that season, or whatever the salary is for the total time, whatever season you want to end, and then the player, and then you just put buyout.
I wonder.
And this is kind of my. Oh, sorry.
I was going to ask for JT Miller. Can you go back into that screen and put minus $1 million? That would take care, instead of changing his salary. I'm just curious to know. Like right now, we've got.
I actually don't know.
I wonder if it'll take a minus number, because if it takes a minus number, then that's the unretained salary we're looking for, right?
That would really help, actually. Yeah, you're right.
That would be nice if it does. If it doesn't, then you can always just adjust the salary like you're doing. I think I think this is kind of what I discussed with you just from, it's like, what if we tried that? And
Yeah, so and this was when I remember telling you, I was like, there's
yeah,
a way to do it, but it's not so what if I do,
so this would be unretained or something, right?
yeah,
Or
so,
that's whatever.
or I can't click it right now, apparently. So say this is unretained salary, add cap it.
Look at that.
It's
I don't know if
there.
it's gonna work. It doesn't look like it's registering, but I'll look. So I think I had 1.93. Oh, looks like it worked.
Look at that. That's sweet. See, that way you don't have to mess with the salary up above and try and
Yeah,
remember.
that's a way easier.
That's perfect, actually. And then the buyouts are easy.
Yeah, because you just put the amount in there and what season you want to end, and it just, as far as I know it, and I can't remember because I think we've done 4 in 5 years, but
Hmm.
I believe it carries over to the next year.
So, Chris,
Yeah.
someone who hasn't used Fantrax before, I don't think you have, right?
I used it the last year we had our baseball league.
Yeah. Kind of from your take, because I mean, I think Bryce Bryce for sure is obviously pro Fantrax. I'm indifferent. I think Fantrax has a lot that would make things a lot easier for the admin side, especially.
Yeah.
But you, like, watching this and seeing it, is there questions that like come to mind from like a player standpoint on why you think this would be a negative?
No, I think like all the questions I had, I've been asking throughout and they've been answered. I honestly can't think of anything else that maybe would be, no, I don't think so.
Because I think it's important. Like our admin team, I kind of wish Ty was here too. And obviously, Bryce, with the work that you've put in this, you would be a big part of trying to at least do a demo year for the league.
I could very easily help out in any way, help set
So-
stuff up. I don't
I
mind
think
at all.
if I can maybe say one thing, because I think enough of the league don't like putting like I'll say a ton of time or whatever into it does, and it could be just because I'm not used to it, and it could very well be that, but it seems a lot more, not that it's more complicated, there's a lot more options. Will that be too complicated for everybody?
The app, if it's anything like it was a year ago, is just as simple as the Yahoo app.
Okay.
So if you're using the app, the thing is, I think we're always going to have GMs that are like, well, I'm not going to deal with retained or unretained. We have that now. They just, if you bring it up in a trade discussion, they just say, no, I don't want anything with retained or unretained. And then there's some that just don't do buyouts. I think that it might make it a little easier if it's already calculated in the background. If you just drop a guy and the buyout is somehow calculated for them, then they're not going to care.
Mhm.
So the big thing for us from the admin side is maybe to put like a mock league together. Don't activate it, just go through it together and see what can we set up based on our rules, what would we have to alter, what would we have to change before we present it to the league, just so when we come to the league to make those people gung-ho enough that they're willing to try. Like really all they should have to do is download the app and everything should be done in the background. And then if they want to start adding some other stuff to it, because I don't want to see us lose any GMs. If we do, I guess in the back of my mind, I just try to remember that we probably would have lost them in Yahoo eventually anyways. Like, you know, nobody does this their entire life. Well, Brent maybe, but you know, we've been around for a few years. DHL's been around a long time. So I would hate to lose some of our core members because they just don't want to switch. So if we're going to propose this to the league, it needs to be really simple. So it needs to be sold as the fact that right now you have to go into Yahoo and do this. You also have to go into Pro Boards and do this. If we switch to this, it's going to be easier.
Yeah.
And the hardest part for you is going to be to download the app. Download the app. You have the app set up. You're good to go.
And it's going to take, you know, it took me a few minutes, a week or two or whatever, to get used to the new app when they upgraded it, right? It's like, geez, I don't know. I was used to the old stuff, but now, like, and I've already said this, I don't do half the things in here that you need or you can do, right? Like I found my place. Man, we're running out of time again. Must be 10 minutes. Anyway, it's just, you find what you need and you use that, right? Like,
Yeah.
I can't say how nice it is to go in and actually know who's on your minor league team. Like, I don't know who's on your minor league team in Yahoo. Like, who knows? I want to pick up a free agent. I don't know who's available. I got to sit here for 10 minutes trying to figure out if Buddy's, taken or not. It's just.
And another thing too is you go into Fantrax and you can copy and paste your raw, and you can just post it into your Pro Boards page. It has your entire team on it, your minors. You don't have to worry about, I need to go delete this guy out and add this guy in because I moved him up. And just once a week, go in and copy and paste and you're done. So if we want to keep the Pro Boards going for that, it's probably good to keep your team pages on Pro Boards as well, because in the summertime, Fantrax, like every other league, shuts down for a bit. So it's nice to have it. But
Okay,
the draft,
that was actually my next question would be, what would be the point of keeping Pro Boards, but that should be for the summer.
yeah, because you want activity to kind of go in the Dynasty League year round. And I'm sure there's going to be a few things that we come across that is like, oh crap, we need to like keep posting that. But I think Fantrax pretty much has a solution. It's just you have to pay for the solution as they come out. So if there's something you need to do, you can contact them. You can tell them what it is that you need. There's usually a way to incorporate it, but sometimes it costs extra money. But if we're paying the fee anyways, and going, like, I don't know, it seems like it's worth it. I guess that's another thing we need to bring up to the league too. And it was briefly brought up, but is everyone willing to pay the extra $5 in order to move it over? That's either $5 added to the buy-in, or it's $5 taken away from the prize pool per person. So in a 20-team league, that's $100. Like, our prize pool isn't that big. I think we're only paying $30. So do we want to go 35, or do we just want 25 to go to the prize pool? But I would say probably the majority would be willing to switch over and try it, but I'm sure going to be 4 or 5 that maybe don't want the hassle of it, that we might have to try to encourage.
Yeah.
So that's my only piece. I'm actually a Fantrax fan. I really enjoy it, but and I would have been an adamant no for the hassle that I know it causes other people. But Yahoo really dropped the ball this year too, and it's really hard to stick with a company that doesn't seem to even want to include hockey. Like, they were sourcing out from Roto World, and Roto World dropped their player updates, and Yahoo didn't even really try to fix. And when they found a fix, it was a really shitty one.
Yeah.
And the whole player position thing, like, they set up a page that you could apply, and there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason. They don't go by it. They're just like, oh, this player's being looked at. Well, you're 40 games into the season and you're still replying that you're looking at a player who should have double or triple eligibility, and they still don't. They're still a center only. According to Yahoo, there's only like 30 right wings that play, apparently, because so I don't know.
And the only thing I'll say is, and this is one of the things I can't say is a positive, but I just don't know. Since we don't run off positions other than forward D, so I can't tell you that it's better, but I could tell you it's worse. I could tell you it's definitely not worse.
When you were doing the player drop down boxes, there was an awful lot of double eligibility, and even Miller showed triple eligibility.
Honestly, I was looking at that also, and I noticed.
Yeah.
So it looks pretty good. And I think they still run off their own platform for position eligibility. And I think there's like a 7-day appeal process. Like, you can apply to have eligibility added, and I think it's a 7-day turnaround for Fantrax. So if you highlight a player who has been highlighted saying they deserve this eligibility, I think it's 7 days for the turnaround for them to make a decision on it. They even had, I forget who it was earlier in the year, was playing D, full winger. You guys might know who I'm thinking of.
Brendan Smith. He is now.
Yeah. Is he on Yahoo? As
I don't know if he is. I mean, in reality, I don't know. I don't think he's both now, because I have him in one of my pools, and I think he's still D. I don't think he played enough right wing, but it might have been somebody else, but I'm pretty sure Brendan Smith was. The Allmark went down last night, eh? don't know how bad that is.
Looked like growing,
It did, didn't it? That's what I
which is never nice.
know. Whenever somebody doesn't get hit and they're on the ice, then you gotta wonder. Oh.
Oh, jeez.
So our first set,
there-
I'm pretty sure it recorded. At least there's an MP4 in here, and I'll record this one. I think we're almost out of time. I don't know where the timer is on
Yeah,
this.
There's
4
5
minutes
minutes.
left.
5
Yeah,
minutes.
yeah.
Okay, good.
4.5.
If
Is there anything you guys, anything else you guys want to see? I'll probably have to hop off after these 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Still young and I got things to do.
No, I'm good.
If you're looking at my screen right now, I'm just going through like claims and drops and lineup trade lineup changes and trades and stuff. You can keep track of all this stuff. I know Yahoo, you keep track of it, but it is nice to be able to see. And this goes back as, like I said, like if you go league or if you go league history from 5 years ago, it shows you all the trades, all the lineup changes, all the that happened all throughout the year. Just small little things, but yeah.
Yeah, that looks good.
I was just thinking, yeah, I just thought we'd get at this early in January just to, we don't want to still be building stuff in, August 28th or something. So, just that's something I thought was pretty key. So we got a pretty good introduction to it here, I think. So.
Yeah, I hope this was enough of a run through. I'm pretty thorough, so.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. Just trying to think with 3 minutes if there's any other questions, but I can't think of anything on my end.
Yeah. Well, we'll post this, and if anybody has, I'll just mention, if anybody has questions, you can certainly post them in the forum. And
I guess while we have 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, and we're all together. Now, how do we go about with the league vote about switching? What does it need to be to switch? Or do we just do it?
I think admin has the chance to do it. I mean, we're the ones who set up the league and run it. I don't think we need people's permission to switch platforms if it's something that's required. The downside is we might lose people. So I think it would be beneficial to find how many are willing to switch. I mean, we're going to have to look at the numbers at the end. If 18 out of 20 are willing to switch, are we okay with that? We'll have to determine that at the time.
So
I mean,
basically post the thread. Sorry, Josh.
Oh, I just said if we put it out and 10 people aren't going to, it's probably not going to fly.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So I guess when Brent, when you post these recordings from there, we'll have a thread to discuss and see how people feel about it.
Maybe do a week, let people kind of throw up some questions and discuss, and as admin in the background, we can kind of take a leading role on when we want to put it out, on whether or not people are going to actually do it or not do it.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Perfect.
It was good, you guys.
Yeah, great seeing you guys.
You're just a little white silhouette man. All right, guys, take care, and I will be talking to all of you.
Sounds good. You too.
Thanks a lot.
See you later.
Thanks, Bryce.
No problem.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.